garage, and this week we're going to do a little tech session and show you guys how to fill holes or damage on an old frame. So we got this Deuce chassis that I cut apart in a previous episode, and we got just our bare rails here. Now I got to fix all the years of sins on this frame one by one. So I'm going to show you guys a couple different ways with both the MIG and the TIG, and show you how you can attack this and get this done and get a half decent finish when you're all set. So we're going to dive in deeper here, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm working with in this little section here, and then we'll show you how it's done. Alright, so now that we got a better view here, I'll show you just a little section that we're going to attack first. So we got a couple of things going here. We have some old holes in the frame, and then I have this section here where there was some wishbone mounts that were hanging in, and they cut it out and fit it in. So I plasma cut these out, and what's left is this notch here. Now what I had to do, and a little tip for you guys, is you don't want to weld right on top of a plasma cut edge if possible. You want to clean that up with the grinder, because a plasma cut edge tends to be, the metal's kind of dirty, and you'll find that you'll get a lot of popping and carry on, and you'll get some contamination in your weld if you try to just weld right over it. So I took the flap disc, went in here, dressed it up, got any slag on the bottom side, sanded and knocked off, and the underside cleaned up, and ready to go. So we're going to do that section with the TIG, and we're going to fill these holes here. I'm going to show you a way to fill it with the MIG with these holes. So let me get the MIG all set up, and we'll fill these two holes here first, and then we'll move on and make a piece for that. Alright, so I'm going to show you these holes first. So we have these ground out. I kind of gouged them out a little bit with a sander to clean out the inside. And now we're ready to fill them with the MIG welder. So one way to do this is if you get a handy set of these plug welding pliers. They're really nice. They have a copper plate on them that the MIG wire will not stick to. It will kind of bounce off of it. So you can back up your hole with that, and then we can fill it up with welds. So I can put it here, clamp it, tighten it a little bit, clamp it, and that's going to back that hole up so that we don't have a ton of wire falling through there, and it's going to leave a nice flush hole on both sides. So now that I got that set up, we got the welder going. I'm gonna fill that up. And when you're welding the hole, what you want to do is I usually pick like a side or a corner of the hole, and I start the arc there. And then as I get a puddle going, I kind of work around the outside perimeter, and it'll start to fill up till you get just a little pinhole in the center. And then you kind of focus in the center and keep going until you see it fill up the hole. And as soon as it fills up that hole, let off the trigger, and you'll basically get a flush hole that won't require a lot of grinding. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then we'll show you the finished product. All right, so we got that one welded up. Went pretty well. You can see our pliers here that leave a little room for the weld. You can see the weld here, so I'm going to take this away. And like I said, it didn't stick to the copper backing. It stuck a tiny bit, but it doesn't weld it to it. And then you can see what's left with our weld here. Nice and flush. It's not sitting real high above it, and it's filled all the way on the back side. It feels just the same on the back side. And if anything, it's a tiny bit low there that I can just hit a little zap with the welder and fill that little area up and grind it smooth. So I'm going to hit it with the sander. We'll smooth it out and then see where we're at, and then show you how to finish it up. Alright, so here's where we actually sanded. You can see what happens. Pretty much anytime you use the MIG, this is going to happen, where you're going to get a little area around the edge of the weld where there's some little pits. So what we can do is we can hit them real quick with the welder, and then right in the center where it was actually welding, there's a little pit there too. So if you're trying to make this finished real nice so you can't see that there was ever a hole there, what I'm going to do is just zap these couple little spots, and then we'll sand it again, and we should have it pretty good, and you can kind of repeat as necessary. But let me do this one more pass, and we'll see where we're at. the first two holes welded up here. That was the damage that we're attacking first, and those are pretty good. Blended in pretty nice. I can hit this with a DA sander to make it even better, but I'm happy with it for now. Next thing to attack is this area here where it was cut out for a wishbone plates that were just shoved in there, and I need to fill that in, and I want it to be a seamless repair. So I'm going to use the TIG welder for this section, and it's a little different as far as repairing it. So I got some plate here that's 1/8" plate that's basically the same thickness as the metal of the original frame. So anytime you're doing these type of repairs, it's best to use metal that's as close or is the same thickness as the metal that you're welding. So it'll make your life a lot easier. So I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to clamp this guy in like so. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a straight edge across the frame here in between the area to try and get, let's see if we can get this, there we go. So I'm going to set the straight edge across here because I want this outside line to be the same when we're actually, when we're done with this. So I'm going to scribe a line, a straight line across this plate here. So that's going to give us the same basic line here where the frame ends when we're done. When we cut that and we weld it in, it'll look the same, it'll flow. Now I'm also going to cut out in here. So I'm going to use the scribe and use the cutout as my guide and scribe in this line. Now I'm using a scribe because the scribe gives us a nice sharp line that we can cut on. If I use a Sharpie, especially a worn out Sharpie, it can be 1/8" or more off, or you may have to guess on either side of the line when you use a Sharpie, and it takes a lot more work. So if we scribe it and we cut it right on the scribe line, we should be real close, and it'll take less time filing and sanding the part to get it to fit. So let me take this out and show you what you're left with. So there's the scribe line inner piece. So now I can take that over and cut that out. I'll probably use my bandsaw and cut this out and sand it to shape, and then we'll fit it back in and we'll show you guys what it looks like and how to actually weld it in. Alright, so I cut the piece out on the bandsaw and I hand sanded and filed it down until I got it to fit really nice. As you can see in here, it's fitting pretty good. There's very minimal gap. You can see I put a little bevel on both pieces. This is so that we get a nice penetration and we have an area that we can lay our filler rod into. So I have it clamped in pretty securely here to keep everything level. I'm going to put a bunch of tack welds in here that I can take the clamps off and we can weld this all up, and then we'll show you what we're left with. Up in one pass because I beveled it and I got the fit really nice. It welded pretty well. It's nice and flat. There's no excessive dips in the weld joint, and it's really not going to need much sanding at all. Just a little bit to blend it all in. The only thing I'll have to do is probably on the corners here. I'll have to just do a little dab of filler in each of those corners just to blend it in. Sand everything, and then we'll show you what it looks like after the repair area is all done. Alright, so I did a quick pass with the flap disc just to see where I was at. It's pretty much flush, but it's just a tiny bit low in this area. So rather than me trying to dig in with the grinder, which isn't the right way to do it. I'm going to do a low amperage pass over top just to fill in these little tiny areas that are just very, very minimally low, just to get it filled up. So I don't have to do a lot of grinding, and I don't have to put like filler or anything there. So I'm going to fill that area in. I'll hit it again with the sander, and then we should be pretty good. Everything should be blended in. Alright, so we got the last little bit welded up. I had some pits that I was fighting, just from some dirty metal in there a little bit. So I got most of them filled in, and I'm pretty happy with it. This frame is, you know, getting close to what, 100 years old, not quite, but it's getting up there in age, and it has a lot of little imperfections, all of which will be filled in by like a high build primer would fill pretty much all this in. So I finished this out pretty good, and we got a couple shots that you can see of just how it came out. I hit it with the flap disc to rough everything in, and I just came back with an 80 grit on a sander, on a DA sander, and blended everything in, and I filled a couple more of the holes around it. And now we got one section here, you know, what, 2 feet or so, that is repaired. So I'm going to have to do this over and over and over again. It's going to be a long time, but we should be able to fix all of these repairs. The plus side to all this is we uncovered, while doing all the welding, we uncovered both of the original VIN numbers on this Deuce chassis, because I knew it was an original chassis, but when I got it, it had a bunch of coats of paint on it and some rust. And as we were sanding in this area, we found the rear one VIN number, and then in the front, when we were working on some of the front, I have Andrew who's helping me doing some of the welding as well. He uncovered the front VIN number. So we matched the two of them up. They're both the same. So we got a VIN number that I can get a title off of, and which is pretty cool. So we're going to definitely save this thing now that I found the VIN numbers. I'm really driven to save this frame, so it should be cool. So that's all I got for this week. Thanks guys for watching. I'll catch you next time.